Hi there, Google Plusers. This is your host, Melanie MacDonald, with this episode of the TGIF Business Networking Hangout. Today we've got a great episode for you. We're going to be discussing video tips for small businesses when you're making your professional video for your website and your outreach. What are some things that you want to keep in mind? My special guest today is G and HOA, owner of Heirloom Productions Videos, and for the first half we'll be discussing sort of knowing your niche, your marketing, and outreach, and for the second half we'll get into the video tips. For now, let's do our introductions. We're going to start with Jim, who has joined us in the Peanut Gallery. Jim, please introduce yourself.
Hey, good morning in California. Here it's, of course, just afternoon, so it's afternoon. Happy you invited me in because video marketing is something I have been studying for years, and I have seen many people do it right. Many people flail away for years and never get anywhere. So getting the magic formula and recipe today from our guest Gene will be very interesting. I'm taking notes, and hopefully I can add to the conversation, but this is a good one for me.
Awesome. Thanks, Jim. Gene, our special guest of the day, please give yourself an introduction. Tell us a little bit about your business.
Hi, I'm G and HOA with Heirloom Productions Video Services, located here in lovely Palm Desert, just miles from the San Andreas Fault. I think 5 miles to be exact. I started my business in 2001, actually, up in Long Beach, California, and it started as a business slightly different than it is now. We offer pretty much a full range of video services for consumers and for businesses. We started primarily as a family personal history company and kind of expanded into lots of other things.
Awesome. Actually, I'm glad that you mentioned that because that's what I want to start off talking about. Because you started your business in 2005. And this is where we get into a little bit about knowing your niche and how do you reach out to them. Now, Palm Desert's out here in the Coachella Valley. He's a local where I live. I'm in that area as well. And out here, you guys know Palm Springs, the name Palm Springs, more than Palm Desert, but it's very much a retirement area. So our demographics lean to a senior population. Now, today's kids are growing up with camera phones in their hands and tablets, and so they are taking their pictures, and their pictures are all already online, and they all know how to make videos, and they all know how to go to Animoto and make their own sort of memory albums. But for the demographics here, which is more the seniors, they are not so quick to adapt to online technologies, and they have boxes of pictures, of paper pictures from the old days laying around their homes. So my question to Gene at first was, well, you know, what is the audience? Why are they hiring you? But then I realized because they're older, they're not prone to using those technologies. So Gene, tell us a little bit more about your family memory side of the business. Exactly what is it that you do, and how did you start reaching out in your local networking to your audience here? Who was your main audience for that business?
Well, actually, I think what I'd like to do, if I can, Melanie, is I want to back up just a little bit because there's an issue that I think is different than the way that we're kind of stating it here, which is the issue really isn't so much one of technology. It is absolutely true, yes. Lots of people have camcorders and smartphones with cameras in them and can sit down and point them at somebody and make a video. The real issue here in terms of personal video histories is the ability to actually intelligently and in a organized way capture the story of somebody's life. And the process that it goes into that is more than just pointing a camera at somebody and saying talk. It requires some research. It requires an organized interviewing method and somebody who's actually paying attention and listening to what some.
Oh, I'm frozen.
Well, paying attention was the last thing you talked about. Somebody actually paying attention and pulling it together. So hopefully he'll be back with us.
Oh, I think he's back.
Okay. We've looked like he froze, so I froze too. So paying attention was the last thing Jim said he heard. And oftentimes, if you sit down with a relative that you know well, you have history with that person, and you have heard the stories. You know, Uncle Joe pulls out his favorite story every Thanksgiving over dinner, and oh God, do we have to listen to this old thing again? But what happens is there's all this other stuff that nobody ever takes the time to ask them about, to cue them to talk about things that they would not ordinarily talk about, and get the details of their experience, where they came from, how they got to where they are, the successes that they had in the life, the failures that they've had in their lives, and to actually then take all of that and put it together in something that when somebody looks at it down the road goes, oh, wow, I can identify with that. I'm having that same problem now. That's how they dealt with that. Maybe I can deal with it the same way.
So basically, I mean, that's very interesting. You're really talking about strategy planning in a lot of ways, and planning your story and your storytelling. I think writers and anyone in business can relate to that, because you don't just jump into your business without planning what it is that you want to do and what you want to accomplish and what you want to achieve. Thank you for clarifying that. That's a great point, because yeah, a lot of us, when we go and we do those things ourselves and we go to Animoto, we just take pictures that we like and we throw them together. We don't necessarily think of it in terms of basically creating a video biography of somebody.
Right. And I have a question for Gene on this particular topic, and that is, when you start working with people, the enthusiasm is probably running pretty high and everyone's excited, and then they find out how much work it is. Do you find that you have to be the cheerleader coach to say, come on, keep going, we don't have that much left to do, or this is something that you need to find more time for and we can get the project finished? Does that just flow easily, or do you have to work at it?
My goal whenever I start a personal history project is to make it as easy as possible for the person that's the subject of the interview. And therefore, what we'll do is we'll do a pre-meeting before we start anything and talk about particular points that they want to make sure they cover. I may do a little research on their family if I can. I may talk to other people in the family and get some background stories so that I can use them as prompts. But the actual interview process, and I've done interviews anywhere from 2 hours to 3 days with people, is painless and easy for everybody. All the work really, other than them getting pictures and videos and any of that stuff that they have available, all of the work falls on me. And that's my job, is to take all that and make it easy for them, because I'm pretty good at moving through all that sort of stuff, figuring out how to assemble it, choosing which pieces to use and which ones not to. And therefore, they just go, wow, this was so easy, and I am so happy with my family memory video DVD set. So I hope, does that answer your question, Jim?
Yeah, it says you are enthusiastic about it, not just doing it as a day job going, ho-hum, I don't like it. I think you get to meet fascinating people and you get to tell their story.
Right. And that kind of leads me...
I'll say one thing about that if I can, which is, it's so funny because the people that become my clients, particularly for video histories and video biographies, I know so much about them, and I know so much about their family by the time that we're finished the product, that they've become friends. I feel like I've known them my entire life, like they've been a member of my own family. It becomes a very personal thing when you get that deep into people's lives. And they have to feel like they can trust you, first of all, to open up and talk to you about things that may be uncomfortable for them to talk about. Families are not perfect, We didn't all grow up in a Leave It to Beaver family, and the relationships are complicated, and sometimes they're not nice, and there's people in the family that you don't really like, and there's stuff going on there that's part of the history and worth knowing for those people down the road. But it still is difficult. You know, family members die, siblings die, spouses die, they leave. All of this stuff is part of the dynamic of a family. So my job is to be able to address those to the degree that anybody's comfortable, so that the story gets told in its fullest possible way.
That kind of leads into my next question, which is, do you have a niche market for this? Because, you know, everybody talks about niche markets, but this is something that I think is kind of broadly appealing. Where did you find your audiences for this? Where do your customers come from, and how did you reach out to them? Has it been mostly through on-location networking mixers and at businesses or community events, or, you know, if it's just family members and not business-oriented, how are you finding your audience?
A number of it comes from referrals. Not as much as I would have expected, to be perfectly honest. It's one of there are a couple of things in this piece of my business that surprised me. Number one of which is that the fact seems to be that the people who are the ones who really need to tell their stories to make their full life story available to future generations are the ones who never think that they have anything to share. They all think that their lives are just ordinary, everyday, nothing special lives, and they're not deserving of anybody taking the time to sit down and actually talk to them about all that they've experienced in the course of their lives, however long that may be, whether you're 40 or you're 90. You know, they think everything that they've done in their life is just taking care of business, and it's no big deal. And they don't see it as, you know, of any interest to anybody outside of themselves and maybe their immediate children. They don't think that, you know, their great-great-great-great-grandchildren would find it interesting to know about the world in which they are currently living, which is going to be totally different than the world the great-great-great-great-grandchildren are living in, you know. So that's one problem that kinds of come into that. So the other piece of it is that the children are often the people who have to do this. The children's and friends and relatives are the people who have to step up and say, I need to do this for you, and you need to do this for me, and convince them that it's worth their time and effort to actually get into it. And so my goal is to get out and try and talk to people, to family members, and sometimes it's the younger family members, not seniors themselves necessarily.
Are you reaching out online, or has it been mostly in person, or are you doing any kind of advertising in traditional methods like radio or newspaper or anything like that?
I have done a lot of, you know, I certainly have had my web page up. I'm actually in the process right now of converting my web page over, so it's going through some changes right now. But I have done a fair amount of traditional advertising over the years in newspapers. You know, I've written articles, I've done talks for groups, I've gone to senior groups and done talks, and I've advertised in just about every rag there is in any supermarket in Southern California at one time or another.
Where do you find the best returns on those kinds of activities?
It's really mixed. I have analyzed it. You know, I spent a lot of time because you know, advertising dollars need to be well spent, and you need to get bang for your buck as much as you can. And I find if I can speak to people directly. I'm
sorry, for me it was cut out at I find, and then I didn't hear what you found.
I think what I was saying was that I find that my ability to go out and actually talk to people directly about my business, why I'm in that piece of my business, how important I think that business is, and if I can talk to the family members as well as to the people who might be the subject of a project, it just the one-on-one is the best way to go for me.
So it sounds like what I find with most things is that face-to-face networking is really the most powerful. And again, it comes down to anything else, whether you're networking in person or online, it's creating relationships, making connections.
Absolutely.
Jim,
Absolutely.
do you have any input that you'd like to add?
Well, I think that one of the things, and we're talking about video today and what it could do for your audience, Melanie, or anyone else watching. 18 years from now, they're going to be watching this video going, what were these people doing on this Friday way back when in 2014? But the truism that really hangs out there for a long period of time is if you look at photographers and documentary filmmakers who chose subjects that were lasting, you'll find that they really dealt with real people, and then of course the exaggerated events that have to do with, war and politics and so on. But what we're getting here is doing your own videos, try to tap into what is true today, tomorrow, and beyond, and make that the focus of what you're trying to capture with your video, rather than just being fancy with it with a visual effect, or doing the intro you saw last week with this one popular video and thinking it's all about the technical side. So think about the storytelling first, and I think that seems to be what I found over the last 5 years watching a lot of videos. It really boils down to make best use of your time in person, and then on camera or the video, try and communicate that same thing you would do if you were handshaking with somebody and explaining something.
Wow.
Get it better, Jim. I mean, everything is about storytelling. The rest of it's just icing on the cake. But if you don't have a story to tell, and you don't present a compelling story and an interesting story, it's a waste of everybody's time.
Yes, that's a great point. I love storytelling, and as a Toastmaster and public speaker, it's very powerful. And I just want to point out for our audience a little tip here. You saw the way Jim summarized what he heard and the big points. And this is something that I learned from Jim, actually. He's so good at that because Jim is one of the people that taught me about ways to use Hangouts after they're done, or other videos that you're doing after you're done. You do a summary, then you add this to your video library. You can always go back and clip out that summary and have like a 2-minute promo clip. So speaking in bullet points, doing a summary after you're done speaking, that's a good tip for people out there also who are using and incorporating video into their marketing efforts.
Well, I learned one thing from Gene already. It's far sexier and better to drink from a glass coffee mug than one that is opaque. I got to remember that. I got to go out and buy one today.
Bed Bath & Beyond.
Now, Gene, I have a kind of a question, because one of the things that you said is that, when the kids are watching years from now, everything has changed and everything is different. And speaking to that technology-wise, your final product oftentimes is on DVD. Are you finding a need looking forward to kind of take that and take your final DVD products and put them online, maybe in a video that would be streamed from YouTube or stored there? Because do you see DVDs being less used as streaming is more and more the method of choice of watching video materials?
That's a great question, Melanie. A large part of my business on that side of my business is about archiving and helping people take all of the memories, all of the home movies, all of the pictures, all of the slides, all of those things, and finding a way to start preserving them so that they're available for many, many generations to come. DVD, and it's a question I get asked all the time by people, which is, okay, I put my stuff on DVD now, I can throw all this other stuff away, right? And I don't have to worry about it anymore. And my answer to that is, well, first of all, you're never going to hear the words "throw all that stuff away" come out of my mouth. That's not going to happen. If you choose to do that, it's entirely up to you. And no, you've just entered a new stage in archiving your personal memories. Yeah, DVDs are one good way to do it, but they should not be the only way. So if you have memories that you want to, I just lost your line.
Go ahead and keep going with the memories.
Okay.
She'll be right back.
That DVDs are one way to do it, but you should also take anything that is critical, of great importance to you, and you want to make sure it gets preserved, and you should distribute it among as many different media as possible. So yes, streaming may become a possibility. It's not a possibility now on YouTube because they limit the number of minutes that you're allowed to upload. I think the maximum now is like 20 minutes. Well, a video biography project might go an hour, hour and a half, almost 2 hours or something like that, depending on the project. So that's not an option for most people for streaming at this time. But that doesn't mean that it couldn't be put in a format that when somebody will allow you to stream something that long, you could certainly upload it. By the time that happens, then that format may need to be converted into whatever the new format is. If it's MP4 now, who knows what it's going to be 10 years down the road. So everything needs to be distributed in as many different media as possible to protect it and make it available to as many different people as possible.
Great answer. Basically, you have to always be prepared, and it sounds like that for you as the business owner, you have a lot of having to keep up with the technologies and learn how to use all the new technologies and have that under your belt. So what are some of the
ongoing learning experience, yes.
What are some of the things that you do? Are there industry associations? Are there groups that you join, video marketing groups or video technology groups, or publications that you subscribe to that help you keep up on the trends in video?
I have more stuff coming into my mailbox on a daily basis from different people that I try and follow and keep up with, and industry papers and industry newsletters, marketing people. I'm a member of the Association of Personal Historians. I keep up with all of their things that they have going on all the time. I have several copywriting gurus that I subscribe to. So yes, it is a non-stop. My brain just wants to explode sometimes because I don't know what to do with all of the information that's coming at me and how I assimilate it and make some use of it, because you have to pick and choose.
Okay, thank you. Jim, how about yourself? Are there any publications or groups that you find are really, really helpful, because you're also in a video marketing industry?
Well, part of what I do is learn from people that are at the top of their game and making a mark on YouTube, let's say, because that's the big dog right now and probably will be for quite a while. I say, what are they really doing with their videos that makes the mark? And if you really look behind the scenes and do your research, you'll find out they're at the top of the heap, and they may not have known they were going to be there, but now their job is to stay there. So all the aspects of saying, I've got to do really well with my video because it takes me so much time to get it done, how am I going to get my return? And one of the things I say to people is, the videos can be there for the next 10 years, and you could use them if you're thinking about it that way. Like a chess game, use what you did last year and try to reuse the content rather than create new every single week, because that gets to be a challenge as well. Now, when I study and look, I don't look at a particular organization. I tend to look at the people, and there's a lot of burnout because it does take a lot of time for video. So plan wisely is what I've learned, and I try and take a cue from the people that are out there doing it successfully in social media. I don't worry about the ones that do it for advertising because I'm not in the advertising game. And a lot of the videos are simply advertising, infomercials or something of that nature. I'm more interested in the people that do the storytelling and become very popular. And I don't know of an organization or a particular group that you can follow that helps you with that. I think it's, as Gene said, you need to open up your email box and let things fly in and scan them and pay attention to them when you have time and learn what you can rather than go to one organization or buy one book or follow one person.
Right. There's so much. Great answer. Well, this brings us about to our halfway mark. Unfortunately, I forgot to turn on the question and answer app, so I usually stop about now to take Q&As. I would like to ask if anybody out there is watching, please go ahead and leave your questions in the comments underneath the event listing, and we'll keep an eye there for them. Also, you can, in the event listing, find a link to join us inside the Hangout. Please do come on in if you'd like to come in and ask questions to our video people. I want to start to segue now into getting into those video tips for the business side of Jean's business. Not so much the family heirloom side anymore, but the business side. So now we're going to start talking about making professional videos for businesses. And I put here in the description for the event listing an excerpt from Jean's website, which I thought was a nice summary. I'm just going to read it. He says, with current technology, the fact is anybody can make a video, but having a video that is not well thought out, well produced, and aimed at identifiable and specific business goals can be worse than having no video at all. Heirloom Productions partners with each of our clients to help them identify their specific goals and create a media production to meet those goals while working with the available budget. And I think that's a really important point. That's actually the same thing that I tell with my clients that I work with on their social media. Know why you're going and spending time on social media. What is it you want to accomplish, and have goals. Otherwise, you feel like you're wasting your time when you're on there. So, Jean, start off with telling us a little bit about that. When a client comes to you, or a potential client comes to you and says, I want a video for my business, do they usually have some of this in mind, do you find, generally speaking, or do they usually just, that's as far as they go? I want a video for my business, and they don't really know what it is.
It has been so far kind of the rare exception where a client will walk through the door and say, I have a client, this is the audience I want to reach, this is the demographic, this is what I want to accomplish, and this is how I will measure the success of the finished product. That has I think one time somebody ever walked through the door and actually knew kind of exactly what it was that they wanted, exactly what they were trying to achieve, and had an idea for how to get there already. I have had far too many experiences with clients when they come in and they say, okay, I need a video for my webpage. And there's this long pause, and I'll go, okay. and you know, tell me a little bit more about that. What are your thoughts about it? What are you going to do with this video? And they'll go, well, I want to put it up on my website, YouTube. Okay, and what else are you going to do with it? You know, and that's kind of the way the discussion goes, because there has been no thought. There are, and I think that in the conversation Jim and I were kind of having right before we started the broadcast in the green room, we were talking about, you know, what people need to do before you ever pick up a camera, before anybody gets close enough to you to pick up a camera, or before you really even ever go and talk to somebody about having a video made for your business or your company. Number one of which is, what is the purpose of your video? Why is it that you want a video? What is it that you think it's going to do? What is it that you want? How is it that you want people to react to it? What action do you want them to take after they've actually watched the video? How do you want them to feel about you after they've watched the video? And I know, Melanie, in another Hangout that I was in with you, you talked a fair amount about, understanding that how people feel about you goes a long way towards their willingness to interact with you, and certainly to do business, and certainly to become a client of you. And that if you have to have that as part of your planning process. So that's one thing. Number two, which is, who's the audience? Who is it that you're actually going to aim this? Let me go back just a step, because there's a point I didn't make that I really have to make, and that is that your video should have one purpose. a video that is trying to do 3 or 4 or 5 different things all at one time is going to be a miserable failure, get you nothing, and just irritate your audience no end because they won't know what it is they're supposed to do. So part of the goal is to choose exactly what it is that you want that business to do for you and what its goal is, and then you write it down on a piece of paper and you tape it up on the wall and you look at it, and everything that you do towards that video, if it's not going towards that goal, it shouldn't be part of your thought process at all. Eliminate anything that doesn't focus on that one goal. Now you may need to do another video for some other things. Most people need more than one video and don't know it. So that's number one thing. Number two is your audience. Who's going to see your video? Who's, is it going to be, are you inside a larger company? You have employees that you want to communicate with, that you want to try and get everybody on the same game? Is it clients? Are the people that you're trying to appeal to decision makers in other companies? Are they are they consumers? Who are they? What is their demographic? Are they 50 to 60 years old? Are they 20 to 30 years old? Are they 60 to 80 years old? And the answers that you come up with to those kinds of questions are going to absolutely determine all of the elements that will go into putting your video together. And unless you don't have that kind of information ready to go, if you haven't sat down and created a profile of who the client that you want this particular video to apply to, the chances of it succeeding are really greatly diminished. And then the next question that nobody ever thinks about when they're doing their planning process is distribution. What is it how are you going to distribute this video? How are you going to get it out to people? A lot of people think they're just going to put it up on YouTube, maybe they'll have a couple of DVDs made, they'll hand out a few DVDs, and they think that's all there is to it, and there's so much more to distribution than that. If you put a video up and nobody watches it, why did you bother? So part of your plan for this has to be, how are you going to market it? How are you going to pass it out? Are you going to get it on in a format that you can put on thumb drives that you can hand out at trade shows? Are you going to have it on DVDs that you can give out as business cards? Are you going to include it on multiple web pages? Are you going to include it in other broadcasts? Are you going to include it as part of your presentations when you go to do public speaking? And how are you going to integrate it with all of the other marketing that you're doing for your products? So there's a cohesive message across all of your marketing concepts. And those are the answers to the questions that you really need to have at least some, if not a final answer to, at least some inkling of before you ever go and talk to anybody about making your video. And that's one of the ways you can choose whether or not you want to work with a video maker. If they don't ask you those kinds of questions, you should turn around and walk out the door right away. Because all they're interested in is pointing the camera at you and getting you to say stuff and getting your money, and they don't really care about the success of you and your business. So I hope that answers the question.
That's a lot of really good advice. Actually, I want to try using...
I was going to say, I would like to add something while he's on that topic that I find is very common, and I try to ask people going, okay, is this your first video you've ever done? Mm-hmm. Or, more importantly, is this the first of several that you're going to do so that you practice and get better and better? Or is this just a one-shot deal? Because getting better is like everything you do, you have to practice. And very few people do their first video and are very good. And it's more luck than anything unless you have it in the hands of a really good professional. But the idea is, this is your business. What are you going to do over the long term to make these videos really work rather than give it a shot and stop? It's too valuable a tool to take that approach. So I try to get people to think, well, this is your first of how many? And they start going, well, I could do 3 more. And I said, yeah, and the last one's going to be really good. So let's work at this.
Good point, Jim. Thank you for chiming in and adding that. I'm going to try something that I haven't done yet in a live HOA. I've used it before, but not on the HOA. I'm going to bring up the YouTube app, And I have a video of Jean's that I want to show. Okay, it's asking me for permission. Yes. That I think actually does a great job of addressing a lot of the points that Jean made to us, of knowing who it is you're marketing to and what it is that you want to say to them. Okay, so this app is opening, hopefully. Okay. Oh, it doesn't look like it's working today. Darn it, I'm having some technical problems in our Hangouts today. So the YouTube app is not working for me. It's not bringing it up. But what I will do is direct you then to go into the event listing, and on the right-hand side in the details column, I do have a link to one of Jean's videos. At the bottom, it says, Outdoor Resort Indio, come join the fun. What I will do now is, because we don't really need to hear the sound, and since the YouTube app isn't working, I'm going to share my screen and I'll play it that way. And I'm not going to play the whole video, but I will do the beginning, if the screen share works.
Now, when you do that, do you have to do what they used to call blue boxing, or is it now pinning?
Pinning? What do you mean?
That means that you're on screen the whole time, no matter who talks.
Oh, I'm still pinning, but okay. Are you guys seeing the screen now? It looks like it's working now. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
Let me put this a
I
little.
recognize that.
Okay, and I'm going to press play.
If you are tired of trudging through the cold,
We can hear it.
the traffic, and having to dig yourself out over and over, if you would like to escape all that, then you need to know that there's a magical place in the beautiful desert of Southern California where fun meets luxury and becomes home. Welcome to Outdoor Resort Indio, the ultimate motor coach resort. Through these gates lies a world of relaxation, comfort, and fun.
Okay, that's all I'm going to go into the video so that we're not showing the whole thing. But I wanted to show that because I think it really illustrates a lot of what Jean was talking about. I don't know if you could hear the commentary as it was happening, but even if you couldn't, the visuals give you the idea. A lot of the people that come here to the Coachella Valley in the Palm Springs, Palm Desert, Indio area are snowbirds, what we call snowbirds. They are people who are escaping the winter, and I love it because he's got, you know, the guy walking through the blizzard, shoveling the snow, and then the stop sign, and then all of a sudden this beautiful, sunny, oh, we're outdoors, we're having fun, look at the flowers, we're playing golf, and here we are in Southern California. So, Jean, let me ask you, was this a concept that that company came to you with already in mind? How much were you in on the planning process? Because I think it beautifully illustrates what you were talking about knowing who your market is. We get a lot of Canadians, a lot of people, a lot of snowbirds, and what's going to resonate with them, and stopping all that shoveling of the snow and coming and enjoying life in the sun is really going to resonate with that audience.
Interestingly enough, this is one of those times where they had no clue what they wanted.
Yeah.
I got a phone call from them saying, we'd like you to come in and talk about doing a video for us. And when I sat down to talk to their office manager and started asking questions, I got blank stares and I don't know, and gee, I hadn't thought about that, and I realized right away that it was pretty much going to be up to me to figure out what it was that they needed. Because I live in an RV world, I've been active in the RV world for a number of years now. I was fortunate enough that I pretty much knew who their market was already. And so the question I asked them was, so one of the questions, of course, was, so when this is done, how are you going to measure whether it's a success or not? And the answer I got was, well, I don't know. And I said, well, if you, at the end of this, could increase the people who are renters, who come to rent in the park and wind up becoming buyers? Or would that be something that you would like to have? And they went, oh yeah, that would be great. Okay, so there's a measurement. And I said, well, and what if you could actually increase the number of people who were purchasing lots in the resort? Would that be, something that you would like? And they went, oh yeah. And I said, well, what if it, what would be a good number for you? What if you could increase it by 1% a year? Oh, that would be great. Well, how about 2%? Oh, well, yeah, that'd be fabulous, because we're talking, $100,000 lots in this place. And so I actually kind of knew where they needed to be, and I was able to put the concept together, write the script, put all the pieces together, and present it to them, and they kind of went, oh, wow, this is fabulous. Yes, we want to do this. And when the project was up and done, when they now take it to trade shows with them, and they go around the country to trade shows, it's on their webpage. They increased their sales for that year by almost 3% after they put the video up on their webpage. So it was a big success story. I'll share another fun story about that particular project. I was in Forest City, Iowa last summer, having our coach worked on at the factory. And we were sitting around chatting, and there was a lady up on the little grassy knoll there where we were, painting. And we went up to start talking to her to see what she was painting, what she was doing, and we started chatting, and where are you from? And oh, we're from California. Oh, I'm from California too. Oh, where are you from? Oh, we're from India. Oh, well, I'm from India too. Oh, really? Oh, we're in outdoor resorts. Oh, we're in outdoor resorts. Oh, wow, that's great. And then it turns out that I actually did the video for them, and she turned to me and she said, your video is the reason we went and bought our lot there.
Oh,
so in
that's
the middle
awesome.
of a field in Iowa, 3 years later, somebody said to me, your video is the reason that we bought our lot in outdoor resorts. What a stroker was that?
Wow.
That's awesome.
That's a great tie-in for the power of video.
Yeah.
You have to get that testimonial on video. So that's really great. What a wonderful success story. And so here we actually see an example of knowing the market, knowing the audience, knowing what it is that you want to accomplish, knowing what kind of message is going to resonate. You said that you're an RVer yourself, so you know what message resonates with RVers. And certainly here in the Coachella Valley, getting away from all that snow is a message that resonates. Jim, let me ask you, what are some of the ways that you tell your clients or help your clients measure success? Because that's something that everybody looks at and says, how do I measure success? I have no idea. How do I know that this video is helping me accomplish what I want to accomplish?
I think one of the most difficult things to do when I ask people is give an answer to who is your perfect customer? Who would you like to have come to you to do business? Is that a person that's older, younger? Are they a techie person? Are they an artistic person? Who would that be? And they have trouble answering the question because they have a mixture. And Gene used that word earlier, mixture. And that's quite often what businesses have, a mixture. You're surprised sometimes who walks in and buys something or wants to buy many of something. You go, wow, what's this? Well, I'm giving them to my friends. Or something, go, well, I'm surprised. I never thought about that. Thank you for the order. So when you're saying to the person in front of you they want to do a video and they want to reach an audience, the hard part to measure is, what is that audience? How many of those people do you need for a successful month or a successful season? And if you can define that a little better, then you're going to be producing something better in either your storytelling about your business or about the benefits of your business, or you're going to link up with people that help you on that path. Rather than doing the same old thing, you now say, wow, if I talk to a few other people instead of the people I've been talking to, I'll be able to reach that audience. And that's the part that gets to be much tougher to measure when you talk about measurement, is who are you trying to contact? And if you spend time on that, you'll be more successful.
Great. Thank you for that great tip.
Sure.
We are, believe it or not, at 15 minutes until the top of the hour. So at this time, I'm going to start asking my guests to tell us any final lessons they want to give us, any final tips, any events that you have coming up that you'd like to promote, any specials that you want to offer, anything like that. Gene?
Well, I don't have any events or specials coming on right now, but I do want to talk a little, just briefly if I can. You know, a lot of smaller businesses think that they don't need video or they can't have video on their webpage. And they don't necessarily, a lot of times that's because they don't understand the critical importance of video. Video today in the online environment is as important as having a web page and a business card. If you don't have video on your web page in today's environment, you are probably going to lose some customers, because there is an entire segment of the market now that has gotten used to being able to get the material that they want, you know, on this. This is where they do a lot of their online research for, and this is where they may come across you. This is where they may come to your web page. And I don't know about you, but if you've ever tried to scroll through a text-based web page on a smartphone, it's an exercise in patience, any way you look at it. So when people go to web pages now in what I call the digital omnivore world, which is people who are constantly out there online looking at things, they expect to be able to get the information that they want in an easy-to-access, understandable, concise, and useful way. And that's what video does for your web page. And if you're not taking advantage of that, it's probably costing you some clients.
Wow, great tip. And it's true, more and more people are accessing everything through their smartphones. When the last time, in fact, Gene, when we set you up to join my club to take a workshop that you wanted to take on the social media, if you remember, it was after our networking mixer.
Oh, yeah.
It was come to my office, pointing at the booth behind us, and we'll get you set up. And everybody pulled out their smartphones, and that's
right.
We got everybody in. And
it wasn't easy.
Yeah, it wasn't easy.
We sat there for a long time, waiting for all the connections to get made and things to load, and it was not pretty.
PayPal to go through and all that stuff, and that was a great eye-opener for me, in fact, too, because I don't actually have a smartphone. I know, I'm like the only person in the world, but I have an iPad and I use my tablet, and I find it a lot easier to do things like this on the iPad, and I had no idea that it was kind of so difficult on the teeny-weeny little smartphone because I don't use them. So
good lesson for you, huh?
A really good learning experience for me, too. What were you saying?
I said a good lesson for you, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Jim, how about you? Do you have anything that you wanted to discuss that we didn't touch on yet?
Well, there's so many perspectives. If you're in a small business and you say, I don't have much time, I don't have any resources, I don't have time to sit there week after week and learn how to do one thing, because I have my business to run and I have a family or other things going on, and plus the pilot that I've hired to fly my jet back and forth to other countries is always asking me, when are we leaving? I know a lot of us don't have that problem, but some people do. The idea is that you need to learn by absorbing and experiencing rather than sitting down with a book. And one of the ways is to watch YouTube videos about how to make videos. Another is circulate with people that are already doing this. They have their smartphone out and they're consuming the video and go, oh, why do you like that one? Why are you going so quickly? Well, I watched 10 seconds and I'm gone now. Oh, I watched 8 seconds, I'm gone. Why are you gone? Well, the intro was pretty slow. They didn't say anything I like to hear. I moved on because do you know how many videos there are? So you're learning by watching other people experience content, and you say, that could be my audience flipping past my video without paying any attention to what I want them to do. How do I learn from people that are actually consuming the video or making it part of their life, because that is your audience? Try to circulate with those people and absorb, learn how they're doing it. Even if you don't like doing what they're doing, you say, but I'm curious because they could be my customer if they slowed down and watched my video.
Right.
But they're not going to. You have, I think the data says that you have 6 seconds before somebody, clicks away from your video. So you have 6 seconds to capture their interest.
And
So
there's
you
a different,
can
there's,
60 seconds
right,
out.
and there's a corollary to that that I try to tell people. If someone likes your video and recommends it to somebody, you don't have the 6-second rule anymore because it's recommended by somebody they trust. So
Yeah.
you want to find out, how do I get people recommending my video rather than just standing up saying in 6 seconds I got to catch their attention, because that sounds impossible. But when people like it and they recommend it to somebody else, now you have a much longer time to tell your story.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
you just
interesting.
get that first person to stay.
Right.
That's interesting that you mentioned the 6 seconds, though, because I think that's why Vine is so popular. It gives you, and that's probably why they came up with, let's do a 6-second video. It gives you 6 seconds of video. And Gene, you recently made your very first Vine.
I did.
Yeah, I thought it was really good, because in your Vine, you showed a stack of stuff, pictures and old film reels and things this tall, and it just got smaller and smaller and smaller and ended with your Heirloom video DVD. And I thought, you know what? That was 6 seconds of sending a very powerful message. Here, I'm going to get rid of your stack, and now you have it all consolidated on this. That was a really good one.
It took me 45 minutes to make.
Yeah, right.
But that's my point. Watch what other people are watching and why they consume the 6-second video. Well, I guess I got to tell my message in 6 seconds. A good lesson to learn, yes. And then how do you do it? See what other people are doing.
And I like Twitter for that reason too, because Twitter kind of started it all with getting people to be really succinct and get to the point and do it in a way that, you know, you're saying what the people want to know, because you only have 140 characters to do it. You're not writing a really long post on Facebook or Google+. You only have this much space to do it. And it kind of, that's sort of the same thing that is happening with Vine, where they're taking those longer videos, condensing it into 6 seconds. But also, if you only have 6 seconds to attract their attention, if you're successful in attracting their attention, how long are they willing to stay usually to watch a video?
Well, the data on that shows that it varies a little bit. 30-second videos, the data shows, are, you know, if you can do something in 30 seconds, that's your best option. Larger percentage of people will sit through a 30-second video. However, if you can provide information that is interesting, then you can get up into about 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes, with something like a 70% follow rate. They'll actually 70% of your people will make it through the 2.5 minutes. Whoops, I just lost my screen here. So my answer to that always is you should take as long as you need to tell your story and give your message. The video that you looked at earlier, that promotional video is actually a 7-minute video, which is very long for an online video. But it needs that long to tell the story that it needs to tell, and to walk people through the process to get them to where we wanted them to be at the end of the video.
But also, I think the reason that they're willing to sit through that 7 minutes is because you did capture such an important essence of it in the very beginning, with those snowy, cold, oh my God, I'm all wrapped up and I'm shoveling, and then bright sunshine in the very beginning. That was, again, an example of capturing their interest in the beginning so that they were willing to sit through 7 minutes.
And it also ties into something that most of the people who are in the market for what Outdoor Resorts is selling can identify with. They all know that feeling.
Yeah.
Back to feelings, you know, how they feel about it.
Jim, do you have any kind of input here on video length?
Well, the video length, I believe if you're going to the, let's say there's television series that did a 30-minute show and they were very successful, they said, oh, well, let's do an hour-long show, and their ratings dropped because they really couldn't sustain the story that they were telling, whatever it was, for 1 hour. And they found out the hard way, and that is, yeah, we're going to go to an hour. Others, it's a half hour, they go to 1 hour, and it stays very successful. In other words, you need to experiment with your audience and ask them the question, what do I do in the next video that's better than what I've already done? There isn't the magic answer, the magic wand where someone walks in and says, you need 2.5 minutes for this and 7.5 minutes for this, and forget about those visual effects. They don't work. And yet you see a lot of it working. So really go into this thinking, I'm going to test this out and find out. Just because a video is on YouTube doesn't mean it has to stay there if it really works against you. But most every video does have value.
Okay, awesome. Well, we are getting close to quitting time here, so I'm going to start doing my own promos here. The next TGIF episode is going to be 2 weeks from today on Friday, August 15th. My guest is going to be June Stoyer of theorganicview.com, and she does a lot of podcasts on various topics that are green and health and nutrition and organics. So I'm really excited to have her because I love supporting green businesses and healthy eating. And one of her podcasts that really interests me is that she does one on renewable energy. So we're going to talk to her about basically her format of reaching out. She's been doing this for a while, and I used to listen to podcasts, frankly, a whole lot more often than I do today, because today my time is taken up actually watching Hangouts more often. There's so much good information out there for small businesses and so many great Hangouts out there. But I want to talk to her about the podcasting, about the how you actually do it, the mechanics of it, and how she's finding and reaching her audience, and how she is sort of creating a business income from her efforts. And also because of the content of it being about renewable energies and health and nutrition and eating healthy and organic. I just love everything about what she does. So I'm real excited to be having her as a guest next time around. Jean, I'm going to ask if you don't mind, share with us just 20 seconds of what has your experience been like in joining my club, Melani's Blooming Business Club? Yes, it's shameless promo times, but
well, and rightfully so. You certainly are deserving of all the promo you can get. You know, my experience, and I have said this to a number of people, since becoming a member of the Blooming Business Club, has just been positively uplifting. I mean, I think I said to you at one point, I learned more in the first week and a half that I was involved in your club than I had, or I accomplished more in the first week and a half that I had learned and accomplished in the last 3 or 4 years by myself. Because it just, you know, the having somebody to be able to take me kind of by the hand and say, here, Gene, push this button, okay, and make it, you know, now do this, was just broke through some of the walls I had where I kept bumping up against things I just couldn't make sense of on my own. So I am a full-fledged believer and a neophyte convert to Melani's Business Blooming Club.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jean. That was really a beautiful and wonderful testimony, and I really appreciate it.
I know, I have a tear.
And I think it's great because I think once you got that wall broken down that you mentioned, you're very active and you're going out and doing it yourself. So it's just getting that little nudge, I think, is really important.
It really makes a difference.
Jim, do you have anything that you'd like to promote? Any events coming up? Any of your Hangouts coming up in the near future? Anything you want to tell us about?
Well, nothing that's specific because I'm pulling together several things that are going to happen the end of August and then through September and October. So hopefully at some point in the future I can come back on one of your episodes and maybe say something about that, hey, we're rolling out this kind of promotional bandwagon for this and these people, and this is going to be interesting. If you like this, you're going to want to watch these videos. But it is video-centric, so it'll be interesting to see what I learn over the next 6 months on getting this thing out the door and, you know, really proving what we already know, and that is Hangouts are great, video is great, and the people that come on your show really should pay attention and keep wanting to come on your show.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Great. So stay tuned. Put Jim into your circles, Jim Alt, and also Jean Shaw. What a great hangout today. We learned so much about video marketing and video strategy, actually, which I think was really fantastic. Looking forward to seeing you again in 2 weeks. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.